We are holding by Seif Tes in the Maimer Margala Bepumei Derava Tafshin Mem. Until Seif Tes, we pretty much learnt the Gufa Maimer, so to speak, the main points, the main nekudas, the main concepts that the Rebbe wants to teach here in this Maimer. We discussed the different relationships of Ben and Eved. We discussed the different Avedas of Torah, Kabbalah Sa'il, Torah, Tshuva, Kabbalah Sa'il, and Kiyum HaMitzvahs. And we discussed the Chiddush in Seif Zayin and Seif Ches, how it's important to have a chibur, a fusion of the relationship of Ben and Eved, that even when he learns Torah, he should learn Torah with Bittul. That's what we learned about until Seif Tes. Here in Seif Tes and Seif Yud, the Rebbe wants to go ahead and connect all of these ideas that we've learned until now to the time in which the Frierdiker Rebbe said his Maimer. The Rebbe starts off Seif Tes by saying that we know everything that the Rabbeim, everything about the Rabbeim, and everything that's connected with the Drushim, with the Maimarim, and the Torah of the Rabbeim is b'diuk, is precise. And therefore, that means to say, not only is their wording precise, and not only are the things that they taught us precise, but if the Rabbeim said a Maimer in a certain time, in a specific time, it must be that he said there was a kavanah, there was a purpose and a reason why he said this specific Maimer in this specific time. So the Rebbe is going to go ahead and connect all of the ideas we've learned about until now in Sifim Daled, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Ches, to the time in which the Frierdiker Rebbe said this Maimer. The Frierdiker Rebbe said his Maimer on Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach, which is also the Shabbos before Yutas Kislev. So the Rebbe is going to go ahead and connect everything we've learned about until now to Parshas Vayishlach and to Yutas Kislev. That being said, let us see Sifim Tes and Yud inside. Says the Rebbe, V'hine yadua shekol ha'inyanim shebedrushei Rabbi Seinu Nisienu koilol gam zman amirasam he metachlis adiyuk. Says the Rebbe, it's known that everything that's connected with the drushim of our Rabbeim, with the Maimarim, with the Chassidus of our Rabbeim, including the time in which the Maimarim were said, is betachas adiyuk, is precise. And therefore, says the Rebbe weiter, Valpizi Yishleimer, so therefore we can say, the mi'atayim mim shedrush ze amnu chak me'echad mor b'Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach. HaShabbos shelifnei Yutas Kislevu, ki inyan hanal, merumaz ba'pasuk, Pada b'shalom nafshi goymer hashayich liyutas kislev u'ba'posuk atinti mikol chasadim mikol emes goymer shebe parshas vayishlach v'gam shayich lagula liyutas kislev. Says the Rebbe, being that everything that is connected with the Maimarim with Rabbeim is precise, so we can say that the Frierdiker Rebbe chose to say his Maimer, this specific Maimer, in Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach, which this Maimer speaks about in Inyan Hanal. Lashon Rebbe is in Inyan Hanal. Which Inyan Hanal, we'll see soon what the Rebbe is referring to. But basically everything we've learned about until now is connected with, first of all, Yutas Kislev. Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach is the Shabbos before Yutas Kislev. So therefore we can say that the Maimer is connected with Yutas Kislev, and more specifically with the Pasuk Pada b'Shalom Nafshi, because we know the Pasuk Pada b'Shalom Nafshi in Tehillim is the Pasuk that is connected with Yutas Kislev. Like the Rebbe brings in the Arov here, that the Alter Rebbe writes in a letter that when the Alter Rebbe was told that he's being freed, he's being released from prison, Yutas Kislev, he was saying the Pasuk Pada b'Shalom Nafshi. So based on that letter, it's explained in Chassidus, and especially in the Rebbe's Maimarim, that the Pasuk Pada b'Shalom Nafshi, that is the Pasuk in Tehillim that, so to speak, represents and is connected to Yutas Kislev. So again, the Maimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe was said on the Shabbos Parshas Vayishlach, which is the Shabbos before Yutas Kislev. So therefore, it must be that this Maimer is connected with Yutas Kislev, and with the Pasuk Pada b'Shalom Nafshi, which is the Pasuk that is connected with Yutas Kislev. And so too can be said that the Maimer is connected with the Pasuk Kotintim Mikol Chasadim, which on the one hand, the Pasuk Kotintim Mikol Chasadim is a Pasuk that Yaakov said in Parshas Vayishlach. Yaakov says in Parshas Vayishlach that he feels that his Chasadim are diminished, are small. He feels like he's running out of Chasadim. That's a Pasuk in Vayishlach, and that pasuk is also connected with Yutas Kislev, because we know there's another letter of the Alter Rebbe that the Alter Rebbe wrote shortly after he was released from prison, after the Gula of Yutas Kislev, and that letter starts off Katointi Mikol Chasadim. So the Rebbe basically, in short, the Rebbe is going to connect the Maimer, the Fiduk Rebbe, first of all to Yutas Kislev, to the Pasuk of Padam Shal Nafshi, and to Parshat Vayishlach, to the Pasuk of Katentim Kol Chasadim, which Katentim Kol Chasadim is first of all Pasuk in Vayishlach, plus it also has the advantage as a Pasuk that's connected to Yutas Kislev. So, how is the Rebbe going to do this? Says the Rebbe, Va'inyanu, the Gimel and Yonim Shuvah Maimer Azal Hanal, Chachma Tshuva Maisim Tevim, Shayachim LeGimel Amudim, Teira Vayidig Nosadim. Says the Rebbe, in the Maimer Chazal, that we've been learning about until now, the statement of Rava. Rava says, Tachlas Chachma Tshuva Maisim Tevim. So Rava in his statement speaks about three Avedas. There's the Aveda of Torah, Chachma, there's the Aveda of Tshuva and Maisim Tevim. Says the Rebbe, these three Avedas, Chachma, Tshuva, and Maisim Tevim, are connected with the Gimel Amudim Shalei V'Eil Meimit. We know in Pirkei Avot it says there's three Amudim, or there's three general Kavim, there's three Yiddishkeit. Serving the Eibusha can be split into three Kavim. The three Amudim. What are the three Amudim? What are the three pillars? There's Torah, Aveda, and Gemilas Chasadim. Says the Rebbe, Chachma, Tshuva, and Maisim Tevim are connected with Torah, Aveda, and Gemilas Chasadim. How? Says the Rebbe right there. Chachma is Torah. That's obvious. Chachma is Torah. Tshuva is Aveda, ki Tefila, Aveda, hu ina bitul, sha'adam, mispalel, hu ke'evid b'fnei Rabbi. Says the Rebbe, Tshuva, which is the second thing mentioned, the second Aveda mentioned in the statement of Rava, is connected and corresponds to the idea of Aveda. Remember, there's Gimel Amudim, there's three pillars. Torah, that's connected with Chachma. Then there's Aveda. What's Aveda? Aveda is Tefillah. That brings the sources for this, that Aveda refers to Tefillah. How is Tefillah connected with Tshuva? Because Tshuva is Bittul. That's what we've been learning about this entire Maimer. Tshuva is connected with the Aveda of Kabbalah Soil. Tshuva is the idea of Asur Mikan. Tshuva is all about the idea of Bittul, being Mavatal yourself. Tefillah is also connected with Bittul. Like we know that a person davens to daven like Avda Kamamara, or like an Eved stands before his master. So davening, Tefillah is very much connected with the idea of Bittul. So Tefillah is Aveda. Again, Tefillah is Aveda, which is one of the Amudim, Shalei Ma'ilam Eimit. The second Amud, we have Torah and Aveda. Aveda is, Tefillah is Bittul, is connected with Tshuva. And says Rebbe Vaitu Maisim Tevim is Gemilas Chasadim, the Gamach, who Klolos Kol HaMitzvahs. And the last Aveda which Rava mentions Chachma, Tshuva, Maisim Tevim. Maisim Tevim corresponds to the last Amud, the Amud of Gamach, of Gemilas Chasadim. Because we know Gemilas Chasadim simply means doing kind deeds, but the Rebbe brings here the Ars, the sources for this, that Gemilas Chasadim can refer to all of mitzvahs. All of mitzvahs in general can be described as Gemilas Chasadim. So therefore, Maisim Tevim refers to Gemilas Chasadim. So what we got from this is that the three Avedas mentioned in Rava's statement, Chachma, Tshuva, Maisim Tevim, correspond to the Gimel Amudim of Torah, Aveda, and Gemilas Chasadim. What does this tell us? What do we get from this? Says the Rebbe weiter, Hinei, Darshu Chazal, Pod b'shal nafshi, Geimer kol ha'eis, Patera Gemilas Chasadim espal matzibur, Ki'ilu padani li levani bin umas. The pasuk says, Pod b'shal nafshi, my soul was redeemed in peace. This is David HaMelech speaking in Tehillim. Padam Shalom Nafshi. However, Chazal say on this pasuk that the Eibishter is the one speaking here. And the Eibishter says that if you want to redeem me and my children from amongst the Ummah Sa'ilim, from amongst the nations, in other words, like we'll see later, if you want that there should be a Geula, if you want Mashiach should come, that's how the Rebbe is going to explain it later. If you want to redeem the Eibishter and the Yidden from the nations of the world, so we need to do three Avedas. There's the Aveda of Oisik Vatera, Gemilas Chasadim, Mispalim Atzibur. This is what the Eibishter says. Kol ha'isek b'Torah, Gemilas Chasadim, Mispalim Atzibur, will redeem the Eibishter, will redeem Li Lebanim Mebeinu Umas. Says the Rebbe. So based on this, let's go weiter. Shaptiya hi al yidei ha'gimel hanyanim the Torah Gemilas Chasadim u'tfila Atzibur. What do we see from this? That the pasuk Pad V'Shalom. Pad V'Shalom is talking about being redeemed in peace, having some sort of a redemption. How do we come to this redemption of Pad B'Shalim? Through what three Avedas? Through the Aveda of Torah, Aveda, and Gemilas Chasadim. Through being Oisik B'Torah, Torah that refers to the Aveda of learning Torah, obviously. Through Gemilas Chasadim is, again, that's the third one of the Amudim, that's Maisim Tevim. And through Mispalim Atzibur. What's Mispalim Atzibur? Davening with the Tzibur is the Aveda of Tefillah, which that is Aveda. So remember, there's Gimel Amudim Shalei Ma'ilam Eimit. The three pillars are Torah, Aveda, Gemilas Chasadim. The three pillars of Torah, Aveda, Gemilas Chasadim correspond to the three Avedas of Chachma, Tshuva, and Maisim Tevim. And how do we come to Pad B'Shalim? through Torah Avodah Gemilas Chasadim. So we see over here very clearly how the three ideas that are spoken about in the statement of Rava, Chachma, Tshuva, Ma'asim Tevim, which correspond to the three Avedas of Torah Avodah Gemilas Chasadim, or the relationship of Ben, Eved, and Ma'asim Tevim, these three ideas are all spoken about, or at least are all alluded to in the pasuk of Pada B'Shalom Nafshi. Says Rebbe weiter, and al derech zeh ba pasuk kotenim kol chasad mikol ha'emes, the chasadim loshem rabim, him beis hakavim, the gemach utfila. Says the Rebbe, so to the pasuk kotenim mikol chasadim, also the pasuk kotenim mikol chasadim is also connected with the three avedas of Torah Aveda Gemilas Chasadim. Where do we find the three Avedas of Torah Aveda Gemilas Chasadim alluded to? Where can we find these three Avedas? In the pasuk of Kotentim Kol Chasadim. So says the Rebbe, first of all, the word Chasadim refers to Gemilas Chasadim and Tefillah. Why? So again, the word Chasadim is kindness. That's obvious, that's clear how the word Chasadim refers to Gemilas Chasadim, doing kind things. So that's clear how the Aveda of Gemilas Chasadim is alluded to in the word Chasadim. Where do we find Tefillah? Where do we find tefillah in the word chasadim? It says Rabbi ki yedua shat tefillah b'chag gemilas chasadim. The Rebbe brings in the Aris, again, sources for this, that the word, that tefillah, can also be referred to as gemilas chasadim. The word chasadim refers to two things. First of all, chasadim refers to literally gemilas chasadim. And number two, chasadim can also refer, or at least allude to, tefillah, to davening. Says the Rebbe in the brackets, that based on this we can understand, being that the Rebbe is explained, the Rebbe is learning that the word chasadim refers to not only to gemilas chasadim, but also to tefillah. So says the Rebbe, based on this we can understand why it says chasadim lashon ramim. In other words, what the Rebbe is asking is, or not asking, what the Rebbe is bavarning is, basically what we're saying is that both gemilas chasadim and tefillah can be referred to by the word chesed. So why does it say chasadim lashon ramim? It should just say chesed. Why chasadim lashon ramim? So says the Rebbe, on the contrary, this is why it says Chasadim Lashon Rabim. Being that the word Chasadim is referring to two Avedas, the Aveda of Gemilas Chasadim and the Aveda of Tefillah, and they're very different. The Aveda of Gemilas Chasadim, of Ma'asim Tevim, and the Aveda of Tefillah are very different Avedas. Yes, both of them can be referred to with the same word, Chesed. They can both be called Chesed, but for different reasons. And they're very, very different Avedas. So that's why the pasuk specifically says Chasadim Lashon Rabim, because being that the pasuk is referring to both Avedas, the Aveda of Gemilas Chasadim and the Aveda of Tefillah, so that's why it says the word Chasadim Lashon Rabim to allude to us that the pasuk is referring to two different Avedas that are both called Chesed. Let's see the brackets. It says Rebbe, V'nemar HaChasadim Lashon Rabim, Ki HaChesed Gemach Mitzvahs, V'Chesed the Tefillah Im Shnei Chasadim. Says the Rebbe, why does it say Chasad Moshe Rabim? Because the pasuk is trying to tell us to be very clear that here in this pasuk we're referring to two Avedas. We're referring to the Aveda of Gemilas Chasadim, to the fulfillment of mitzvahs, and we're referring to the Aveda of Tefillah, which is also called Chesed, but they're two different Avedas. Says Rebbe, Befrak, L'fi Yidua Shatfilu B'Kava Gvura, Hala Momata L'Mayla, Demizah Muvan Shachesed Shebet Tefillah, Einik HaChesed Shebet Gemach. To strengthen this idea, to bring out how different Tefillah is from Gemilas Chasadim. Says Rebbe, we know that Tefillah b'derech klal is connected with the idea of Hala Milmata L'Mayla. We're not going to elaborate on this, but the idea of Hala Milmata L'Mayla means, it's connected to the idea of Bittul. Hala Milmata L'Mayla means that a Nivra wants to be Nis'ala, wants to become elevated and go out of himself and come closer to the Eibishter. That's in many places what Hala Milmata L'Mayla means. Again, Hala Milmata L'Mayla is connected to the idea of going out of your Metzias to come closer to the Eibishter. Hamshacha means you bring the Eibishter close to you. Hamshacha means you stay in Metzias, you stay here in this world, and you're bringing the Eibishter into your Metzias. Hala is connected with going out of your Metzias, leaving your Metzias. In other words, connected to the idea of Bittul. So Tefillah is connected with Hala, and Hala is connected with Gvura. We're not going to go into why Hala is connected with Gvura. The point is, what we see from all of this is that Tefillah is not an absolute Chesed. Although Tefillah can be called Chesed, like the Rebbe brings in the R54, the sources for this, but it's not your typical Chesed. So again, tefillah can be referred to with the word chesed, but it's not your typical chesed, because tefillah is the avodah of Hala, which Hala is connected to Gvura. So all of this is just that everyone wants to bring out, the befrat is to bring out how tefillah and Gemilas Chasadim are very different avodas. They're both called, they can both be referred to with the word chesed, but they're very different avodas. And therefore, when we want to refer to both of them with the word chesed, we will say chasadim lashon rabim, to tell us that although yes, the word chesed can be referring to tefillah and to Gemilas Chasadim, but they're very different avodas. And therefore we're saying chasadim lashon rabim to emphasize that we're referring to two different types of chesed. Okay. Point is, from all of this, we were myrich a little bit, but the point that I was getting at is that the word chasadim refers to two avedas, the aveda of gamach, the aveda of maisim tevim, and the aveda of tefillah, of davening. Says the Rebbe, ve'emes hu Torah, ain't emes ala Torah. And the word emes in the pasuk refers to Torah. So we find over here, in this pasuk, katein tigol chasadim kol emes, again an allusion to the three avedas of Torah, aveda, and gemilas chasadim. So right now, what has the Rebbe done? The Rebbe has showed us that the pasuk pada v'shalim nafshi is connected with Torah, aveda, and gemilas chasadim. The pasuk katein tigol chasadim is connected with Torah, aveda, and gemilas chasadim. And these three Avedas of Torah, Aveda, Sadim are the three Avedas that Rava speaks about in his statement, Chachma Tshuva Maisim Tevim. So half of the Maimer that we just learned, in Sifim Daled Hevav, half of the Maimer that was speaking about the three Avedas of Ben, the relationship of Ben, which is how a person is aligning his mitzvahs to the Eibishter. The relationship of Eved, which is Kabbalah soil, how a Yid is ignoring his mitzvahs, putting his mitzvahs on the side in order to serve the Eibishter, and the fulfillment of mitzvahs. That was most of the Maimer, was talking about these three Avedas, the relationship of Ben, Eved, and fulfillment of mitzvahs. Says the Rebbe, these three concepts, these three ideas of Ben, Eved, and fulfillment of mitzvahs, which is what Rav is referring to in his statement. Tachlis Chachma Tshuva Maisim Tevim. So these three ideas are connected with Yutas Kislev and Parshas Vayishlach. Because again, remember, that's what the Rebbe is going to do here in Tzivtes. Here in Tzivtes, the Rebbe wants to connect everything we've learned about to Parshas Vayishlach and to Yutas Kislev. So that's one connection that we find. That the statement of Rava speaks about three Avedas. That's what our Maimor is talking about. So much of our Maimor is talking about the three Avedas of Ben, Eved, and fulfillment of mitzvahs. Those three ideas, those three Avedas are clearly connected with Yutas Kislev, with the Pasuk Padav Shal Nafshi and Parshas Vayishlach, like we find in the Pasuk Katinti. Now they wants to go on and connect another idea that we learned in the Maimor to Parshas Vayishlach and to Yutas Kislev. What's another idea that we learned about in our Maimer? Another idea we learned about in our Maimer is that it's not enough to learn Torah, and Torah should bring out your relationship of Ben, but rather a Yid has to learn Torah in the Eifin of Bittul, meaning a Yid has to learn Torah in such an Eifin that the Torah brings out the relationship of Ben and the relationship of Eved. A Yid has to learn Torah on the one hand, Torah has to bring out how his Metzias is aligned with the Eibishter. That's one function of Torah. But we learned in the Maimah, the Chiddush of Sif Zayin and Sif Ches was that when a Yid learns Torah, it's not enough to learn Torah that connects his Metzias to the Eibishter. A Yid also has to learn Torah, and the Torah has to bring Bittul. Torah itself is meant to bring Bittul to the Metzias of a Yid. So says the Rebbe, this idea that we learned about in the Maimah can also be found, and is also connected to Parshas Vayishlach and Yutas Kislev. Where do we see this? Says the Rebbe, weiter in the Maimah. V'omer katein gach sad, umikol ha'emes. The Inyan HaBittul Katointi, who loy rak mikol chasadim, which is a kav that tefillah gemilas chasadim tshuva maisim tevim, elagam mikol ha'emes Torah chachma. The lashon of the pasuk is Katointi, I am small, belittled, mikol chasadim umikol ha'emes. What does this show us? Where do we find Bittul? Katointi refers to Bittul. What is Bittul connected with? So simply we would say Bittul is connected with Chasadim. Remember, Chasadim in this pasuk, the Rebbe just told us that Chasadim refers to the two Avedas of Gemilas Chasadim and Tefillah. Tshuva Maisim Tevim. Where do we find Bittul? B'derech Kal Chassidus, it's explained. Bittul is found in Tshuva Maisim Tevim. Torah is not about Bittul. Torah is about your Metzias. Torah is about aligning your Metzias with the Eibishter. So Torah is not something that's connected. We're not going to associate Bittul with Torah. Usually we associate Bittul with Tshuva Maisim Tevim, with Chasadim, which again, Chasadim refers to Tefillah and Gemilas Chasadim, which Tefillah and Gemilas Chasadim, that is Tshuva Maisim Tevim. So says that, but what do we see from this pasuk of Katainti? That no, Bittul, Katainti is connected with Emes. Katainti mikol Chasadim, umikol ha'emes. Yaakov is saying there's an idea of Bittul, there's a concept of Katainti, both in Tshuva Maisim Tevim and in Emes and in Torah. So here again we find a connection between one of the main ideas, one of the themes of the Maimer, that we need to have Bittul in our limud. We find this idea connected, alluded to in the pasuk in Vayishlach. Says the Rebbe, so too Valderech Zeh b'Maimer Chazal. Ala pasuk Pada b'Shalom Nafshi Shadirku Kala Oisik B'Teira V'Loika Aleimit B'Teira. Says the Rebbe, so too can be said with regards to the pasuk Pada b'Shalom Nafshi. Where do we see in the pasuk Pada b'Shalom Nafshi that there's an idea of learning Torah with Bittul? Torah we find, because Chazal say that how do you come to Pada b'Shalom Nafshi? Through learning Torah. But where do we see that Torah has to be with Bittul? Says the Rebbe, there's a diuk. Look at the wording. Chazal don't say kol ha'loimid Torah. Chazal say kol ha'oisik b'Torah. What does oisik b'Torah mean? So let's see weiter in the Rebbe's Maimer. What's oisik b'Torah? The inyan oisik b'Torah hu k'meish mevarchak me'echad mur shenei sifal zeshu loimid la'atzmei hu mishtadl b'chol mini ishtadlus lahavius harabim l'dilim l'Torah. Says the Rebbe, there's a vart in the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Frierdiker Rebbe says that the word, there's loimid Torah. Loimid Torah means you're learning Torah. You're a good Jew that learns Torah. Oisik b'Torah means something else. Oisik doesn't mean that you learn Torah. Oisik means you deal with Torah like an asek. Asek means a business. What is business? What's business? Business is buying and selling, trading. A person has schira, a person has merchandise. You have something to sell, so you make an asek out of it. You make a business out of it. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe, there's idea of learning Torah for yourself, and there's idea of being oisik b'Torah. Oisik b'Torah means that you use Torah like a business. What does it mean like a business? It means that you buy and sell, you trade. You don't keep the Torah for yourself. You give the Torah to others. Says the Rebbe, this idea of being oisik b'Torah, not sufficing with learning Torah on your own, but making sure, being mishtadel, putting in an effort to share Torah with other people, that's an idea of learning Torah with a bittul. Why? Let's see right in the Maimer. Says, why would a person try? Why would a person put effort into spreading Torah, into giving Torah to other people? It makes no sense. If you have a guy that enjoys learning Torah, if you have a guy that's working the whole day to align his mitzvahs with the mitzvahs of the Eibishter, so he should sit and learn Torah. Use every moment of the day to learn Torah. Why would a Yid go ahead, so to speak, lose his time that he could use to learn his own Torah, and go and give that time to teach Torah to other people? He's not gaining. He's not strengthening his connection to the Eibishter. If a Yid who is able to sit and learn Torah goes ahead and uses his time to teach other people Torah, so it would seem that he's losing out on his connection. So why would he do it? It's obviously because this is a Yid that learned Torah with bittul. Only a Yid that learns Torah with bittul would be ready to be oisik b'Torah. Okay. So here we see again another diuk. It's clear that the Maimer Chazal on the pasuk Padrash al Nafshi is telling us it's not enough to learn Torah, but we have to learn Torah with bittul. So it could be said that there were two big concepts, two big ideas, two themes that were learned about in this Maimer. One is we learned about the three Avedas, the three ways of serving the Eibishter. You could serve the Eibishter with a relationship of Ben, you could serve the Eibishter with a relationship of Eved, and you could serve the Eibishter through fulfilling mitzvahs. That is definitely a big theme that we learned about in this Maimer. Says Rebbe, that idea is hinted to in the words, in the statement of Rabbah, Chachma Tshuva Ma'asim Teva. Chachma refers to Torah as the relationship of Ben. Tshuva refers to the idea of bittul, that's the relationship of Eved, Kabbalah Soil. And Ma'asim Teva is Ma'asim Teva, the fulfillment of the mitzvahs. Says the Rebbe, these three ideas that we learned about in the Maimer are clearly alluded to and are clearly connected to Parshas Vayishlach and Yitas Kislev. How is it connected to Yitas Kislev? Because Yitas Kislev is connected with the Maimer Chazal, with the pasuk Padrash al Nafshi. And Chazal say on this pasuk, how do you come to Padrash Shalim? Through Oisik b'Torah, Gemilas Chasadim, Aspal Matzibur. In other words, Torah, Aveda, and Gemilas Chasadim. So it's clear, everything we've been learning about until now is connected to the pasuk Padrash al Nafshi, to the three Avedas of Torah, Aveda, and Gemilas Chasadim. So to Parshas Vayishlach, there's a pasuk in Vayishlach, Katonti Mikol Chasadim Mikol Emes. Chasadim Lashon Rabim refers to the two Avedas of Gemilas Chasadim and Tefillah, which is basically Ma'asim Tovim and Tshuva. Tefillah is bittul. Tefillah refers to the bittul of Tshuva of Kabbalah Soil, and Gemilas Chasadim is Ma'asim Tovim. So that's in the word Chasadim. And Emes refers to Torah. So again, in the Parshas Vayishlach, we find how everything we've been learning about in this Maimer, the relationship of Ben, Eved, and Ma'asim Tovim are alluded to in Parshas Vayishlach. Chasadim and Emes refers to Torah, Aveda, Gemilas Chasadim. Then the Rebbe goes a little further and says, we also learned about in this Maimer the importance of learning Torah with bittul. Says the Rebbe, that idea of learning Torah with bittul is also found in Parshas Vayishlach and in Yutas Kislev. Because in Parshas Vayishlach it says, Katonti Mikol Emes. There's a sense of bittul in the Emes. There's a katonti, a sense of bittul in the Emes, in the Limud Torah. And so too in Padrash Shalim. How do we come to Padrash Shalim? Through being oisik b'Torah. Says the Rebbe, what's the diuk oisik? It doesn't say leimed b'Torah, it says oisik. Why oisik? Because oisik means that you're involved not only with learning for yourself, but you're involved with spreading Torah to other people. And the only way a person will come to such a thing, why would you take of your time to give Torah to other people? That's because you learn Torah with bittul. So everything, the big themes that we learned about in the Maimer are very much connected with Yutas Kislev and Parshas Vayishlach. That is what we've learned here in Seif Tes. Now here in Seif Yud, the Rebbe is going to go on to connect another idea, another theme, another concept we learned about in the Maimer to Yutas Kislev. Let's see Seif Yud inside. V'hinin is bar le'il Seif Zayin shachib ur d'shnei inyanim the ben ve'eved hu al yedei gilui etzem haneshama k'meisha m'shesh ba'atzmus the etzem haneshama shnei inyanim the ben ve'eved im kul echad. Says the Rebbe, we just learned in Seif Tes that Yutas Kislev and Parsh Vayishlach are connected to the idea of learning Torah with a bittul, which learning Torah with a bittul is really a chibur, it's a fusion of ben and eved. Torah is ben, mitzias, eved is bittul. If you learn Torah with bittul, that's a fusion of ben and eved. Says the Rebbe, we learned in Seif Zayin. How do you come to that? How does a person have the ability to have this chibur, this fusion of ben and eved, to live with these two opposites? Says the Rebbe, we learned in Seif Zayin. A person has to become in tune with his etam and neshama. The way a Yid's neshama is mushish in atzmos, the Yid is absolutely one with the Eibishter. And his connection is absolutely undefined. So he's connected to the Eibishter in every way possible. In a ben, in Eved, they're kulachand. They all exist there in you could say in a harmonious way. It's all one. A Yid is connected to the Eibishter like a ben, like an Eved, kulachand. So therefore, if a Yid here in this world wants to live with both relationships, he wants to be a ben to the Eibishter and an Eved to the Eibishter at the same time, he has to become in tune with his etzem and neshama. Says Rebbe, al pizeh yesh levair haseid the maimer zal hanal kol ha'oisik b'teireg milsal mispal matzibur shemaktim teireg gamach v'tfila hagam shebeseder aviz adam bechlal limdat teireg beikar la'achar tfila shebal la'achar k'dim es gamach k'maimer zal yov prutaloni v'adam matzi. Says Rebbe, if we look at the maimer chazal on the pasuk pad v'shalim, it's very bothering. There's a pasuk pad v'shalim. The Eibusher is saying, how do you redeem me and my children from the nations of the world? Through three Avedas, the Aved of Torah, Aved Gimel Chasadim. That's basically what the Chazal are saying. However, the order is a little funny. The order in the day, the Peil Mamish, a Yid Seder Aveda, is simply Gimel Chasadim, then Aveda, then Torah. Why? Torah, we know, is meant to be learned after Tefillah. It's clear from the Gemara, that brings here in the Aris. That Torah is meant, a person meant to daven, then learn Torah. Before a person davens, he's meant to give tzedakah. Like it says in the Gemara, that Yoiv pruta la'ani v'hadar matzli. What does that mean? First, it's speaking one of the Mereim over there, that first you give tzedakah, and then you daven to the Eibishter. Like it says in the pasuk, but tzedek echsas panecha. That how does a Yid come close to the Eibishter? How could a Yid come and daven before the Eibishter? First, it has to be preceded, the tefillah has to be preceded by Gimel Chasadim, by giving tzedakah. So in the order of the day, in a Seder Hayim, l'churda, the first thing that happens is a Yid does Gimel Chasadim. That's the first thing that happens, Gimel Chasadim. Then, after you did Gimel Chasadim, you're able to daven. Once you daven, you're able to learn. In Chazal, in the Maimer Chazal, on the Pasuk Pad B'Shal Nafshi, the Seder doesn't say Gimel Chasadim, then Tefillah, then Torah. It starts with Torah. Why would it start with Torah? Says Rebbe, based on what we've learned in this Maimer, it's very understood. Let's see what Rebbe says inside. Ki amit in the Pad B'Shal Nafshi hu al yedei gili de hayechida. V'derech ze obne gele in the Padani li lebani ben umeis. D'zeh she'inyin zeh. Yeh bebias Mashiach dafke hu lefish Mashiach hu yechida chol se shtal shlos. Says Rebbe, what does Pad B'Shal mean? What does Pad B'Shal mean? It's Mevorach Chassidus. We're not going to elaborate on this, but it's Mevorach Chassidus, especially in Yutas Kislev Amarim, that Pad B'Shalom is referring to a unique pediyah. My soul is being redeemed in peace. And Mevorach says there's two ways a soul could be redeemed. There's two ways a nefesh lekis could be redeemed from his nefesh bahamis. One way is through fighting, through a milchama, through battling, through waging a war with your nefesh bahamis. But then there is Pad B'Shalom, a peaceful redemption. And it's Mevorach, it's explained like this, that what does it mean to have a peaceful redemption? The ultimate peaceful redemption, the ultimate pediyah b'shalim, is when a Yid reveals his etzem and neshama. When a Yid is living with his etzem and neshama, there's nothing that can stand in his way. So again, we're not going to elaborate. There's many details on what exactly means a pediyah b'shalim. Many Mamarim of the Rebbe that discuss this idea from different angles. But the gist of the idea is that how are you redeemed from your nefesh bahamis b'shalim? How could a Yid be redeemed from all of the struggles and all the challenges of his nefesh bahamis without needing to fight them, without needing to put up a war? It's specifically when he reveals his etzem and neshama, his yichida. So that's Pad B'Shalom, the simple Pad B'Shalom. So too, Chazal say that Pad B'Shalom doesn't only refer to David HaMelech, doesn't only refer to a Yid, but Pad B'Shalom means that the Eibishter and Yidden are being redeemed from the Goyim. What does that mean? Mashiach. So, and why Mashiach? Why is Mashiach going to be specifically the one that's going to bring about Padani li ulabani b'beina umas? Because Mashiach is the Yechida HaKlalis. Mashiach refers to pretty much the revelation of Atzmus. Let's just say for that to keep it simple, because here the Rebbe is speaking very very briefly and very that was not elaborating much. So let's just keep things simple. Mashiach is what's going to be Mashiach when Mashiach comes. There's going to be a Esgalus Atzmus. The point the Rebbe is trying to bring out of here is that the individual, a person's personal P'diyah B'Shalim, comes through the revelation of his Etzem and Neshama, and so too the P'diyah HaKlolis, the redemption of the Eibishter and Yidden from Golus B'Chalal, comes about through the revelation of Yechida HaKlolis, through the revelation of Atzmus, through Mashiach. Says the Rebbe, how do we come to the revelation of Etzem Neshama? How do we come to the revelation of a Yid's personal, a Yid's individual Etzem Neshama? And al derech zeh, how do we come to the revelation of Yechida HaKlolis? Is through what? Says Rebbe Weiter in the Maimer, V'yashleimar. Sorry, first of all, the Rebbe just adds here one line. V'yashleimar, the kavana kam b'yechidi, lo l'darga protis yechida, alagam la'etzem neshama. We know, especially in the Rebbe's Maimarim, that sometimes yechida can be referring to a specific level in the neshama, and sometimes it's referring to the etzem neshama. Says the Rebbe, we're referring over here to the etzem neshama. How does a yid come to his own personal p'diyah b'shalim through revealing his etzem neshama? Not as yechida as a individual level in your neshama. When we say Yechida here, we're referring to the Etzem Neshama. And so too, again, when we speak about the Yechida HaKlolis, when we say Mashiach is the Yechida HaKlolis of the whole Seder Shtalshus, we're referring to the Etzem, to Atmos. Says the Rebbe, B'lechein maktim teil g'nos chasadim, ki agil loy the Etzem Neshama, hu ha'yidei ha'oisek b'teira, d'zeh sha'teira ben, hu ba'eifin ta'oisek eved, hu mitzad Etzem Neshama. B'lechein inyin zeh hu ha'chana ikis l'biyas HaMashiach ha'yechida the Klos Shtalshus. Says the Rebbe, that's why the Pasuk is maktim, prefaces the ha'isek b'teira before the Gemilas Chasadim and Tefillah. In a person's Seder Hayom, naturally you first do Gemilas Chasadim, then you daven, then you learn. But when we're talking about that with the concept of P'diyah B'Shalim, how does a person come to his own personal redemption? In an Eifin of Shalom, how do we come to a peaceful redemption? Is through revealing our Etzem. How do we reveal our Etzem? Through being Eisek b'teira. Why? What's Eisek b'teira? Teira is Ben. What's Eisek b'teira? Eved. Chibur Ben and Eved. Bittul and Metzias together. How does Yid come to revealing his Etzem Neshama? Through the fusion of Bittul and Metzias, through the fusion of the relationships of Ben and Eved. That's how you reach your Etzem Neshama. So that's why when it comes to the pasuk P'diyah B'Shalim Nafshi, which P'diyah B'Shalim is talking about a Yid having his own personal and individual redemption, peaceful redemption, and that's Akdama to the P'diyah HaKlolis. How do we come to Mashiach? How do we come to a revelation of Yechida HaKlolis? If every Yid will have his own P'diyah B'Shalim, that's how we're going to come to the P'diyah HaKlolis, to the revelation of Mashiach. But how do you come to your own personal redemption? How do you come to your own personal P'diyah B'Shalim? And al derech zeh, how are you going to come to the P'diyah HaKlolis of Mashiach? That is specifically through revealing your Etzem Neshama. How do you reveal your Etzem Neshama? Through being Eisek b'teira. So that's why in this Maimer Chazal, the Chachamim, Chazal, are makdim Eisek b'teira, because that's the most important, that's the most vital Aveda in order to come to the P'diyah B'Shalim, in order to come to your own personal P'diyah B'Shalim, and in order to come to the general P'diyah B'Shalim, the P'diyah B'Shalim HaKlolis of Mashiach, it is most important to have the Aveda of Eisek b'teira, the fusion, the Chibur of Ben and Eved, which brings out the Etzem Neshama of a Yid, and which will bring the Yechida HaKlolis, the revelation of Mashiach, to this world. Now, in the last paragraph of Shiur, it says that Rebbe, a person might think that once we come to Mashiach, which Mashiach again is going to be, what's Mashiach? The revelation of every Yid's Etzem Neshama, and the revelation of Atzmus, the Yechida HaKlolis. So maybe then we'll be beyond the Aveda of Torah Aveda Gnos Chasadim. We'll be beyond that. Once we reach Mashiach, once we come to Atzmus, once a Yid reveals his Etzem Neshama, and once there'll be a revelation of Atzmus here in this world, in Seder Shtalshus, so we'll be totally beyond the individual and specific Avedas of Torah Aveda Gnos Chasadim. Says Rebbe, no, on the contrary. Let's see the last paragraph of Seif inside. Seif, Shayideg Yila Yechida. The Chlolis HaYishtalshus Yila Asid Lavoi Yitesef Ili B'chol Gimel Yanyanim Chacham HaTshuva Ma'asim Tevim Va'ad Le'ili Shbein Areich. Says Rebbe, on the contrary, when Mashiach's going to come, there's going to be a revelation of every Yid's own Etzem Neshama, and there's going to be a revelation of the Yechida HaKlolis in Seder Shtalshus, which that's going to be L'Asid Lavoi when Mashiach comes. Says Rebbe, on the contrary, then there's going to be an Ilui, there's going to be an advantage, there's going to be an elevation in all three Avedas of Torah Aveda Gnos Chasadim. Where do we find this? Rebbe's going to prove it. Rebbe's going to show it to us clear, black and white. The Menegei ala Torah, Chachma, Razal, Shatir, the Akshav, you heavily got to Mashiach. Chazal say in the Medrash that the Torah that Mashiach will teach, or the Torah that we learn now, is hevel. It's nothing compared to the Torah that Mashiach will teach us. So what do we see over here? When Mashiach's going to come, we're going to be learning Torah. Not only will we learn Torah, the Torah that we're going to learn when Mashiach comes is going to be much greater than the Torah we're learning now. So we see that when Mashiach is going to come, we're not going to stop learning Torah. On the contrary, there's going to be an ilui, there's going to be an elevation in the Torah that we're going to learn when Mashiach comes. That's with regards to Torah. So it says Rabbi Negel the Tshuva Yadua, Shemashiach also sabbat tzedkai bet yufta. Shatshuva the tzaddikim now siyes the Tshuva kipshuta. Says Rabbi, we know it's Baruch Chassidus attributed to the Zohar that it says that when Mashiach's going to come, he's going to make the tzaddikim into Bali Tshuvas. That's what it means. Also, Sabbat Tzidkai Bet Yufta means that Mashiach, that's Mavor Chassidus at least, that Mashiach is going to bring the tzaddikim to a state of Bali Tshuva. Now, so first of all, that tells us that when Mashiach's going to come, there's going to be the Avodah of Tshuva. We're not getting rid of the Avodah of Tshuva. When Mashiach's going to come, there's still going to be the Avodah of Tshuva. But not only is there going to be the Avodah of Tshuva, the Avodah of Tshuva when Mashiach comes is going to be greater, it's going to be higher than the Avodah of Tshuva that we're doing now. Nowadays we're doing tshuva for Averis. Nowadays we're doing tshuva because we did something wrong. Something's off. Something's wrong with us. Asur mikan. That's tshuva nowadays. Says Rebbe, when Mashiach comes, we're going to still be doing tshuva, and it's tzaddikim will be doing tshuva. That, in other words, we're going to be holding on a higher level of tshuva. The tshuva that tzaddikim do. So again, here we see again that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a gilui atzmos and a gilui of etzem neshama. We're not going to get rid of the avodah of tshuva. We're going to be doing the avodah of tshuva in a higher manner. Says Rabbi, so too with regards to Maisim Tevim, Maisim Tevim Yadua, Shabias Mashiach, Yakim HaMitzvah, Tatzal Shlemas. Says Rabbi, and it's known with regards to mitzvahs, for sure, when Mashiach's going to come, we're going to be able to fulfill the mitzvahs, B'tachas HaShlemas. First of all, there's many mitzvahs that we can't do now. That's obvious. But it's Mavor Chassidus that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be an advantage to the mitzvahs that we do over the mitzvahs that were done in the times the Beis HaMikdash stood. Nowadays, we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, and even in Golos, there's many mitzvahs we can't do. But in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, Bayis Rishon, when all the Yidden were living in Eretz Yisrael, and there was a Beis HaMikdash, seemingly we were able to do all the mitzvahs. Says Rabbi, no, it's known that Mashiach's going to come. We're going to fulfill the mitzvahs in the most perfect, in the most ultimate manner, in the most shleimistic manner. It's going to be even more perfect than the fulfillment of mitzvahs, the way it was in the times of the Beis HaMikdash and Bayis Rishon. So from all this we see, the Rebbe is showing us that we're not going to cancel out. When Mashiach comes, we're not going to get rid of the Avedis of Torah, Tshuva and Maisim Tevim. On the contrary, we're still going to be doing the Aveda of Torah, Tshuva and Maisim Tevim. And not only we're still going to be doing these Avedas, but we're going to be fulfilling these Avedas in a higher manner. Says Rabbi Yishleimar, Shabbos Shleim was the Maisim Tevim Meidim, Shia Oz, Nichol Gam, Shekol Yom, the Il Masiyah Meidim. Says Rabbi, we learned in Sivav that Maisim Tevim, first of all, it means doing the mitzvahs. That's the simple, literal translation of Maisim Tevim, means fulfillment of mitzvahs. But says Rabbi, the truth is that we learned Tzivav, Maisim Tevim doesn't only mean doing mitzvahs, but Maisim Tevim means that our mitzvahs should be shining. Meaning, how did that explain Tzivav? That the Maisa, our mitzvahs shouldn't only be Mamshech Atzmos, but there should be a Gili of Atzmos. Not only should we draw down and connect to Atzmos, but the connection should be felt and apparent, and we should be conscious of that connection. That's what means Maisim Tevim. That the Maisim, our actions should be lichtik, should be shining. It should be revealed and apparent. That's what we learned to Sifav. So says the Rebbe, when Mashiach comes, we're going to come to the Shleimus, first of all, Maisim Tevim, literally. We're going to come to the completion of doing mitzvahs. We will be doing mitzvahs in the most perfect manner. That's A. That's the first thing. But B, when Mashiach comes, the Maisim Tevim will be in the ultimate Shleimus. The idea that Maisa, that our actions, that our mundane activities will be Me'irim, will be lichtik, will be shining, that will come to its ultimate completion when Mashiach comes. Says the Rebbe, "Va'ad shegam laila kayim yoir b'gula mitzvah shleima de Mashiach tkenu ba'ifn the miyad hinegolim." Says the Rebbe, to what extent will the maisim be meirim? Not only will our mitzvahs be meirim, not only will the fulfillment of mitzvahs be shining, but first of all, the Rebbe said before, kol in yom de'il asiyah, all of our actions, all of our physical deeds, the entire ilam asiyah will be shining with gilui likus. And not only will all of our maisim, even our physical deeds, be shining with gilui likus, to the extent that laila kiyem yor, that even the darkness, even the things that seem to be negative and klippa, etc., things that are associated, attributed to laila, even those things kiyem yor will be shining with gilui likus, when we will have the Gula Mitzvah Shleimot Mashiach Tzekenu in Eifrim Miyadim Nigolim. So this is all how the Rebbe in Sifim Tes and Yud is connecting all of the ideas we've been learning about this Maimer. The three Avedis of Chachma, Tshuva, Maisim Tevim. Ben, Eved, and the fulfillment of mitzvahs. And so too, that is connecting the idea of that limda tears to me with a bittul, which is the chibur ben and evet, the fusion of ben and evet. And that is connecting the idea that we learned in Seif Zayin, that how do we come to the fusion of ben and evet? Through the Gilui of Etzem Neshama. All of these three ideas that we've learned about in this Maimer Bar Yichus, the Rebbe is connecting all of these concepts to the Parsha of Vayishlach, which is the Parsha the Maimer was said, and to Yitzis Kislev, to the idea of Padvat Shalom Nafshi, that through these Avedas, through the Aveda of Torah, Avedik Nochsadim, and specifically through learning Torah, even of Oisik B'Torah, the Chibur of Ben and Eved, that's how we will come to Padvat Shalom Nafshi. That's how we will come to the revelation of the Etzem Neshama, to our souls being redeemed in peace, until we will come to the B'diah Klolis, Ki'ilu Padani Liu Labani Beina Umais, that we will come to the revelation of the Yechidah Klolis, the Gilui of Mashiach, which will take us, Li, Labani, the Eibishter, and the Yidden, out of Golos and Eifin of Miyad Him the Golden.